Hello everyone and welcome back to IMO Reviews. Today we are doing another catch-up with 3 movies that were released earlier in the year that I've only just got round to. And it did make sense to group all 3 of these together as they were all biopics, pretty much, in a year that really has pushed this new genre of this is how this was made. Looking at you, Tetris. You're part of the problem too. But how did these 3 movies handle this new consumerist genre? Let's start with Blackberry. Blackberry was a very pleasant surprise with wonderful performances from Glenn Howerton and Jay Baruchel in particular. The characters have a real depth to them that you can understand and relate to. You might not always agree with somebody's actions, but you do get why they're doing it, and deep down you know they're right, even if you don't like it. It composes its clashes very nicely with a good flow to the dialogue that won't lose the everyday person with big corporate talk. It's an interesting story that's easy to follow, and I can appreciate the deeper meaning to the film and the exploration of what can be lost in the hunt for success. It does this very subtly and is smart to position its characters so very differently that they can view it from different perspectives, allowing the audience to take sides and discuss. I may also have a slight bias towards Blackberry, as this is one of the rare occasions where I was alive for a large portion of this time period, and not to sound like an old man, but I do remember a lot of this happening. I had a Blackberry myself. There was no WhatsApp, it was BBM all the way. If you had BBM, you were one of the cool kids. This movie kind of unlocked memories for me, but equally opened my eyes to realising how pivotal these moments were in an era of booming technology. But the film wasn't perfect. I don't think the makeup was that great, with some terrible wigs throughout, and Blackberry does still commit some of the criminal tropes that I will also whinge about later with the other films. That being the lazy-ass montages of its time period. I get why these movies do it, but god damn am I sick of it when it's every single time. I thought this was a really engaging watch that was a pleasant surprise, and if you haven't checked it out already, I am recommending it to you. But that being said, I'm going to give Blackberry a 9 out of 10. Next up is Air, the well-advertised Matt Damon and Ben Affleck vehicle about the creation of the Air Jordan shoe. This was the movie I was least excited about, hence I didn't bother with it at the time of its release. Because not only do I already know the story, but I also knew it really wasn't that deep. Long story short, Nike were screwed, nobody took them seriously, not until Michael Jordan signed with them. The end. And truth be told, why this story stands out, I don't really know why, because pretty much anything that Michael Jordan attached himself to, well, it's sold. It's Michael friggin' Jordan, man. I don't really understand why Air thinks that this moment is any more pivotal than any other celebrity endorsement. And in not recognising that, the movie just comes across as misguided. But credit where it's due, Air performs the task like a well-oiled and experienced Ford Focus. The problem is, it's about as interesting as one as well. It will get you from A to B very smoothly with no bumps along the way. You'll even get a pretty good performance out of Matt Damon and Viola Davis too. All the fundamentals will be ticked off the list and done so in a very routine and formulaic manner, which sadly just makes it dull. Air is so formulaic in fact that it actually started with that era montage bullshit that I complained about earlier. Yeah, this one is really paint by numbers in that regard. There's only so much you can say about Air because it really is that formulaic. It turns up, it does the job, it goes home. And for some that'll be enough, but for me it just fails to leave an impression beyond an enjoyable performance from Damon and Davis, with a very confused promotional stance on, well, consumerism basically. So I'm going to give Air a 5 out of 10. But now it's time for Big George Foreman, and I was actually quite excited for this movie. I'm a big boxing fan, or at least I used to be until a bunch of clowns who'd rather avoid each other than fight each other took over. Clowns that couldn't lace the boots of a legend like George Foreman, who absolutely deserves his own biopic. When this film was coming out, I was actually quite saddened to hear that most people knew George Foreman as the guy with the grill. This is a 2-time heavyweight world champion we are talking about here. This man fought them all. He is part of some of boxing's most iconic moments. Down Goes Fraser is a hair-raising piece of commentary from the annals of boxing history. Some kid from the Olympics just turned up and knocked out the heavyweight champion of the world. This was monumental at the time. He fought Muhammad Ali in the Rumble in the Jungle, which, if you don't know already, is again one of the most iconic boxing fights of all time. Boxing fan or not, I truly implore you to watch it if you can. It's a sensational, edge-of-your-seat piece of sporting history that will never lose its atmosphere or entertainment value. George Foreman is nothing short of inspirational. So why the hell did you give him an absolute dogshit piece of trash biopic, Sony? This is paced awfully. It's so unfocused, it doesn't know what's interesting about itself. The acting leaves so much to be desired, the casting is just flat out bad. It's got incredibly cliche writing with rise and fall routines with a grumpy old man coach in the corner. It's so cliche in fact that it almost feels like a parody of Rocky, which is absolutely insane. How you couldn't get a legend story to stand up on its own 2 feet is just embarrassing. It feels like absolutely no effort has been put into this project, and it shows with things like the music. It's so generic and it does not fit the tone of the film at all. It's just a total mess that goes on and on and on without any real purpose or focus on how to tell this story. And somehow it seems to slow down in the dull parts and yet speed up in the interesting parts. You know that argument that says remakes shouldn't be of good movies, that they should be of bad movies so that they can maybe be better than they actually are? Well, Big George Foreman is definitely one of those. Not only does Foreman deserve better, but we as an audience deserve better. Big George Foreman gets a 3 out of 10. Thank you for watching this review. Please be sure to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and please do hit the comment section as well. Have you seen any of the movies we've discussed today? What did you think about them? Let me know in the comment section below. And of course, if you haven't had enough of this crazy ginger, well, you can always click on these suggested videos right here and get yourself lost in an IMO wormhole. But if not, take care, and I look forward to seeing you on the next review.